Okay, hello. So, you see, you're going to make this worse now that we're started. This is going to be one of those, who are these morons? Okay, hello, everybody. the stupid laugh you heard at the beginning was Vaughn.
Yes, it was.
Vaughn, the only person I know of that, if you said nerd, you could probably pick him out of a lineup.
From a full set.
Well, exactly. And then we have Jason with us as well.
I'm not really here.
He's not really here. Well, strangely enough, Jason's wife is the only wife I've ever heard openly admit that he has no emotions. Which I don't think she's going to want to hear if she ever does listen to the show.
Probably not.
Right.
Don't worry, you'll get it in the outtakes.
Right. Get furious. What did you tell people? They'll think I'm horrible. And then there's myself, Rhett. That's Rhett with an R, not Brett with a B. I don't want to explain that anymore.
For anyone out there who knows, Gone with the Wind.
Yes, Gone with the Wind. And I'm the only person I've ever met who women will literally walk closer to traffic when they walk past. You're basically listening to Distracted Gamers. It's the whole concept of the podcast is we're going to talk about essentially nerdy topics. Obviously, you haven't listened before because this is the first one.
Maybe we can post it second.
By the way, go to, let's see, it's Into the Fire is the one I'm going towards. And that's just an example of the Distracted Gamer.
To the
north?
Well,
see, the whole purpose of it is we're actually going to talk about things as far as entertainment, video games, whatever happens to come up onto our mind. The entire time is we're playing a video game. No, this is not a Let's Play. We're actually just going to be playing a game, and you have no idea what we're doing as we're attempting to talk about things. Is this gimmicky? Yes. Should you be listening? I'm not sure. If you're one of the two people that are listening, let me know and give me negative feedback if you feel you need to.
Okay, I will afterwards.
Thanks. Nobody, as Vaughn starts emailing negative comments about himself towards the podcast website.
Well, that way I get to claim first.
Right. The moronic comment issue. This will be posted on the blog. Please tell us how we're doing, despite the fact we haven't actually talked about anything, and we sound completely unprofessional.
That's kind of the point.
Right. Well, to start out with, seeing as how we're actually approaching the new era, if you will, of video game consoles, we have the whole. I don't even know what they call it now. They've got this really stupid way to reference it. What is it? Next gen?
Really?
Wait, and I don't know why we're calling the current gen next gen now. But essentially, the only way that we have a way of referencing the new set of consoles coming out is next gen. They already have the Wii U out. What has it been out for, a year? I don't have the date for that.
Not that long, I thought. I thought it was only less than 6 months.
Well, that was the stupid thing about the Wii when it first came out, is it was something like 6 months before they actually released anything any real video games for it. What do they have, a library of 2? And the problem is, especially when you're trying to push to be the first person out on a system, you kind of end up standing out there, and you can either take the market or you can't. And as far as Nintendo's concerned, their success and failure is kind of on them, regardless of the rest of the market. And they strangely sort of exist on their own. Well, it's like with the whole motion control system. Everybody else has spent a lot of time trying to catch up to the idea of motion control. You had, PlayStation Move?
Yeah.
Which seemed like a remote controller with a bouncy ball on the end of it. I never even to be fair, though, I never even tried to use it.
Oh, it's not so bad. about the same as everything else.
Well, does it control any better, or is it even just worth...
It
Well,
seemed,
it's like...
when I did
Go
it,
ahead.
I had the usual difficulties of I'm trying to do something for the first time, but outside of that, the character did basically what I wanted him to.
Well, that's the thing with the Wii, too. Well, like that first package you get, the Wii... The
Sports?
Yeah, the sports thing, where they would have the boxing game on there, and you kind of had to learn to use the controllers and not just swing your arms, because the problem was, especially on the game, is you couldn't just start boxing and it would react to everything you do. You just throw your arm.
Yeah, you had to figure out
what it could read and what it couldn't read, and
what
it was kind
motions it was actually looking for.
Right. And as far as and they just had, on the moment of recording this podcast, they actually just had the Xbox release, which surprisingly was, I don't know if you could classify it as somewhat of a big disaster, as far as it's concerned. The release was kind of muted. Apparently, at the same time, Sony stock went up 9 points, or 9% or something like that.
Off the announcement of the...
Right, it had to have been somewhat depressing to see that actually show up.
Well, at least they can say they make a difference.
Well, they did make a difference. They made such a big deal about all the extra features, like you can use Skype, and somebody counted how many times, it was some ridiculous number of how many times they said television or TV when talking about the Xbox. They showed like 2 games.
I'm going for this horror over here. Or wait,
and
that's you. Where are you?
Well, the whole purpose of
that's
it was...
a horror.
Yeah, I clicked on it to see what it was...
Well, see what I mean? We're distracted. Anyway, the whole purpose of it was that
I think we can take him.
You're losing. I'm losing what I'm talking about.
Wait,
I can't
are you
even
distracted?
We don't have any wrench out noises.
There should have been one.
Fantastic. At any rate, the whole purpose, it seemed, was they were trying to explain how all-in-one and how inclusive this was and how great the system could do and all these different features. And the big complaint was, well, where are the video games? And that's the problem, especially with a lot of these stuff that they create now, is everything's built around it has to do 1,000 things. It's like you don't buy your phone because you can talk on the phone now. It gives you all these apps. You're going to play games or Angry Birds or what have you.
Feature
and
bloat.
Well, right. It's like they talked about how you can watch television on it. You can switch between your television and your game, and there's Skype, and you can blog, and it's got like it'll record what you're doing for all the 14-year-olds that think that their opinions are worth something and want to post it on YouTube.
Ooh, like us.
Oh, I'm not 14, but I'm. And the point is, it's like they're trying to build it
down
into,
below 30%.
I'm a college student, and this is the only thing I have in my house, and I don't even have a computer apparently, and this is what I'm going to use. And it's kind of a waste of time. Nobody builds, or I don't go out to buy a gaming system because I can access YouTube. Does that make sense?
Well, in their defense, my PlayStation is used more for Netflix now than it is for playing video games.
And you're logged on all the time.
That's because my kids are watching.
Well, right, but you use your computer as well. But that's the thing, though. You didn't buy the PlayStation 3 because you wanted to use Netflix. If that was the goal, you could buy something much cheaper.
That is true.
With the same thing in mind.
Ooh,
I'm not going to go buy a next.
What do you want to do, Vaughn?
I was just going to say, do we want to name things like the Roku and things like that? But I already did it we've discussed PlayStation 2 and other things, so I guess product placement is part of us.
Yes. Roku sponsor, wink wink.
Send us more remotes. My son seems to throw them away. Seriously,
Well, like last time when he plugged the toy.
we've had to buy 2 different remotes for it, in addition to the one that came with it, because we couldn't find them. Then the other day, he showed up with one. One of the missing remotes, just out of the middle of nowhere. I swear
like
we searched the area, but...
Well, like a dog that buried it in the yard, it had come back to home. Well, I don't know, Jason, what your opinion is of the next gen. I hate saying that.
Somewhat disappointed at this point.
I mean, at any point are you going, oh, this is great, I want to buy this?
No, not so far. My opinion right now is that since it's not backwards compatible, or at least right now it's not.
I mean, is that a big selling point? You know, you already have a Xbox 360. At what point are you saying, well, I want a new system?
Well, let's say my Xbox 360 goes out.
Right.
And I decide, hey, you know what? Instead of getting me a new trying to find an Xbox 360, I'll just get the new thing and replace it with that. Well, I'm screwed if that happens, because none of my games are going to be backwards compatible.
And Xbox has no problems with heat.
Yeah. And
right. Well, did you see pictures of the thing? There was this big hullabaloo. Well, they had a big hullabaloo about and it's like Xbox was trying to one-up PlayStation 4 and they reveal. Like, PlayStation 4 talked about all these different things, and it was reasonably successful, but they didn't show the system, and everyone was like, well, where is the system? So Xbox comes out, and they think that they can just show pictures of the system, and everybody will just start drooling. If it was basically a giant plastic cow pie with a slot where I put my disc in, it wouldn't bother me so much, because my whole goal of using this thing is not staring at it and making, kissy noises towards it. I could care less what the stupid thing looks like. And to be honest, it would be much more attractive. And people would ask me, what is that giant cow pie with the disc slot in there doing on your desk? And I'd go, hey, that's my Xbox. No, the thing, it seems like it's almost like a quarter of the thing is just a giant, vent.
that inspires confidence, don't you think?
Right. Well, part of the whole press release was apparently was that it was near quiet. And you know how loud the 360 gets? Well, it's not even so much from the 360.
The original 360 was loud. They started dealing with the noise issue eventually, but yeah. Seriously.
Well, I still have the original 360. If it still works, I'm not going to buy something skinny and black just because it looks good.
Well, right. I'm just saying that even the original, they started doing something about the noise issue. They put in a quieter disk drive and some other stuff, but that was later. That was before the Xbox Slim or whatever they call it came out.
Right. Well, when they first released the 360, I was actually working at Walmart at the time, and I knew the guys in electronics, and so they before the system ever came out, and it seemed like it was months before it came out, they had a demo one that was in the store, just sitting there, and it would sit in the case, and people would try and play. Like people apparently do. You go to your local Walmart to play a demo.
Yeah.
Right.
But he'd open it up, and I took some pictures of it. This friend of mine has a webcomic, and I put the pictures on there and stuff. And I remember I took so many pictures, the guy I knew that worked at Walmart at one point said, maybe that's enough, and kept looking around suspiciously. Like he might get in trouble for having...
for letting someone snap pictures of it?
All right. The only... interestingly enough, and this was before anybody really had a lot of hands-on experience with it, my first reaction from it was not only was it loud, but man, it was hot. Like, you put your hand around that thing in that small space, and it was just nothing but warm air. And now, I mean, if anybody listening has an original 360, it does
Are they
give
any
a
left?
lot of heat. I still have mine, and it is beat up.
Really?
But it works.
Yours didn't red ring?
It did, multiple times.
Well, then they
And it got to the point where it was out of warranty, and it red ringed, and I went online and looked for a solution on how to fix it. And I fixed it. And the reason why it's so beat up is I had to crack it open. What are they going to do? Replace it? It's out of warranty.
I'm surprised if they replaced it. I would have thought they might have replaced it with a newer version.
No. It was out of warranty by the time it had actually red ringed for the last time. And I figured out something apparently that you could do to fix the issue. I'm not going to go into it here. If you're crazy enough and you have no money, then feel free to attempt something ridiculous to try to fix your 360. That not being the topic at hand. But I don't know, Vaughn, would you even be, whether it's the new... And did you hear about the name, too?
Oh, it's one, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's not number one. It's Xbox NOE.
NOE?
Yeah, Xbox One.
O-N-E?
Yeah, O-N-E.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there you
N-O-E. No-E. Dyslexia. Get it, kids.
It's contagious.
It's contagious.
I would consider the things I'm most worried about is it seems awful little brother to me.
Well, that's what was a big issue. Especially with the 360 release, was here's a couple of things for those, and I don't know if you're listening to a nerd podcast and you have no idea what I'm talking about, then there's something wrong with you
For listening to us.
Right, why are you listening to us? But for those of you who don't know, the Xbox 360, the Xbox One, does actually require not only the Kinect to be connected, because it's going to come with a Kinect, and I'm going to assume that's going to up the price. What, $60, $100 or something?
It'll just be part of it. We won't notice.
Well, no, it has a separate Kinect. It's like a peripheral-looking thing, but it has to be connected to the system all the time.
Kind of like a controller.
It will be on. Well, right, but it's going to have the camera. It's going to listen to things. I remember reading a Penny Arcade comic a little while ago, and Gabe was making some goofy reference to the fact that Kinect, I know I can't disconnect you, but look away. Because the whole thing is you can actually unplug this thing. And I know everybody makes a big deal about, nobody's going to listen to... To be honest, webcams are not that hard to hack. And the first time somebody figures it out, people are going to be potentially watch you in your living room, so to speak. And I engaged in amorous activities. I don't know what you're going to be doing, but you don't want people watching you.
Why are you doing amorous activities while your system's on? But I've watched my daughter learn how to play the Wii, and it's an awful lot of fun watching her move trying to use the controller.
While it's not working.
Well, no, she's learning. She's getting better and better control, but in addition to that, she's throwing her arms up in the air so the character will jump. And
seriously, when I watch my kids play with the controllers, I mean, this isn't just them playing on the...
Ooh, hey, there's a named character. I'm going to kill it.
Well, you have that cliched sort of early gamer thing where they sit there and they tilt, like physically, while they're trying to get the thing to move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, even then, the learning curve. But as far as the Kinect is concerned, let's assume...
I've heard that they're actually going to make a way to turn the Kinect off. So
they have listened to the feedback?
That's what it seems like.
Well, that's like turning your phone off. I mean, most phones now that people don't realize, and maybe I'm just screaming at a ignorant crowd, but especially with, like, let's say the iPhone, for example, even when you turn it off, physically turn it off, the GPS is still on. And that's been a proven fact, and you can go on any website and figure that out. The GPS is always on, no matter what you do, even if you turn it off. And somebody might say, well, you can remove the battery. Well, they built the things now, so
you can't remove the battery.
So internally capable, you can't actually remove the battery. And it's easy to say when you're younger that it's not that big a deal. Nobody's going to be listening to anything we're doing, but that's obviously proven wrong. Well, right. But that's obviously proven wrong because we've had plenty of stuff in current events now. Not that we're going to get into anything political, but,
sure we will.
They've been listening to things that people have been doing for some time now, especially...
Smuggler, huh?
Yeah.
Yes, enjoy your new item.
Thank you very much.
It's not without the realm of possibility that such things can be abused. And you hear all the time about celebrities having their phones hacked, some naked picture that she was taking. And I don't know how smart you are if you're using a phone, assuming that nobody's going to hack the thing and take it out. But they did this big reveal for the 360. I don't... Well, there's been a big hullabaloo about whether or not the rumors about it having to be on all the time was actually going to be true.
I've heard both, but that yes, it does have to be on, and no, that it doesn't. But I gather that
did you read that article I sent you a little while back?
And it might be from that article that you sent me. I do know that they were talking about cloud computing being a part of the new Xbox One.
If cloud computing is a part of it, then it's going to have to be connected. Now, that article I found online, I can't remember what website it's from. Kids, you have Google, look for yourself. But apparently, it might have been the CEO of Xbox, or at least their branch. But he made the comment, because somebody was talking about it on Twitter, where, no, it's not going to have to be online all the time, but you will have to have it connect to the internet at least once every 24 hours. And my response was...
Really? That seems like a waste of time.
Well, that's the thing, though. It's like they constantly have to reconnect, I'm guessing, to the cloud or to whatever it is that they want you checking in on. And then another big thing was the discussion about used games where, like... So, for example, let's say,
right.
Jason...
You have to...
let me
as soon as
explain.
you load the game, it basically registers it to that box, and you can't.
Right. Well, let me go into it first. The apparently, like, let's say that you have an account with your wife. Not that she's going to play a video game. Let's assume you have an account with your wife. On the same Xbox, she has her own. You have her own. You buy a copy of, I don't know, some new game that had come out. You like playing it.
Yeah.
Right. Left 3 Dead, or whatever they're going to end up calling it, where they include the 3 somehow in the word as if it's clever.
But it is.
But you buy one copy and both of you want to play it. You put it in and you register it to your account. Well, for her to be able to play it, she would have to actually apparently pay a fee to be able to play it on her account as well.
Okay, that's just stupid.
Right. So, but the thing is, it registers to an account, so you can't essentially, like, if each of your kids has their own account on Xbox and they want to generate their own achievement.
I'm not going to be paying every time one of my kids wants to play a game that I bought for them a system.
Right. Well, there was a big discussion as to whether or not this was basically going to destroy the whole used game market, solely focused on this thing. And to Sony's credit, they've got nothing of the kind.
So at what point are you doing that? Microsoft is, right?
Yeah, Microsoft is. As far as I know, Sony hasn't come out with anything like that. And there's been a lot of discussion as to whether or not... I mean, look at it this way. If you want to buy a game and have your kids play it, they can't share it on separate accounts. So theoretically, why would you buy it for a 360 period when you could easily just buy it for the PS4?
Right.
And not only that, but you could play it online.
Ooh, we need to let him pull that out. Or maybe not. the beast.
Well, playing video games, not being a good healer, and I'm attempting to. I don't even know what we're actually doing right now because the audio of the game is so low as I'm trying to actually pay attention to what we're talking about.
But we're supposed to be distracted.
Well, not so much that we're going to spend half our time talking about this, but the goal being that, yes, we're having a podcast while doing something else. It's clever, it's unique, yay. Well, actually, in a way, this was our way of continuing to have a way to play a video game and not have to stop talking. That being said, the PS4, I don't know, I'm more interested in buying a video game console, period. And I could care less whether or not it lets me use YouTube. Like, I don't surf the internet on my PlayStation 3.
I tried. It's miserable.
It is miserable. You get a mouse, a keyboard, and then you're thinking to yourself, why don't I sit at a computer? It's better built for that. I have to squint and lean back on my couch.
Well, maybe my TV's just the wrong resolution for it.
Now, to be fair, a console in nearly everybody's house has included, all of these consoles has included a way to use some Netflix. And Netflix, as much as I don't care for it, has become a big deal to a lot of people. It basically destroyed the whole home market for rentals. And I actually like the whole ritual of going somewhere, wandering around forever, looking at movies, and potentially finding movies that I had never seen or even heard of that had interesting box art. And the fact that Netflix has become such a big deal, most people use their systems to be able to watch Netflix. I mean, you can do it on the Wii.
I would like
PlayStation 3.
The Xbox that... Basically, I like the ability to view YouTube videos on the PlayStation. Because there are some times when I'd like to be able to just sit down and show some of these YouTube videos.
Well, I do that with you frequently.
But
when you come over, I'll use my television as a way to show YouTube stuff, and that's fine. The thing is, I don't go to the PlayStation just to watch YouTube.
Right.
It's not even a comfortable way to go search for things.
Right. And the thing is that Xbox has that, but once again, not unless you're a gold customer.
Well, that's what always annoyed me. And I'm going to get into something, seeing as how we can't apparently stay on the topic of talking about the next gen stuff.
We never really do. We wander.
That is kind of on the topic of the next gen stuff.
Well, yeah.
They're making it so that the next gen stuff has all these different...
It's solely about all the extras, all the gimmicks. I'm not going to buy a PlayStation 4 to watch YouTube. I'm not going to buy it so I can look at my Facebook account, which I don't really have one. I'm not going to buy it so I can Twitter with people. I'm not even really going to buy it so I can watch Netflix. I'm going to buy it because I want to play some cool or potentially new video game for it. It's convenient and cool that I can use those features every now and then, but I also do them on my computer too, and I have a fairly decent computer for that.
Right. The thing is that a computer is, like you said, it's better for that anyway, and it has all the peripherals you need. And the newer computers are coming out with HDMI output anyway, so you can just plug it into your TV anyway.
Well, yeah. And that's actually what I've done for many years, is I actually had an HDMI cable running from my computer, my television, so I could actually just pop it open and have a dual screen thing going on.
Right, so there's no reason to do that for your console. And
now I'm going to bring up some information that might actually throw a monkey wrench into the whole thing. especially initially, the Xbox 360 just beat the crap out of the PlayStation 3 on sales as far as console sales and everything else, and it's still, I think, normally considered to be the better selling of the two systems. And when the PS3 came out, the whole focus was on, these are our games, look at how great our system is, you don't have to pay for the online feature, the graphics are better, et cetera, but people still use the 360. And the only reason why sales started to slip back towards the PlayStation 3, believe it or not, was the extra features. It was the fact that it had a Blu-ray player. It was the fact that it could do a lot of these extra things, which it never advertised for in the beginning. And to be honest, most people, at least that I know, that actually have a Blu-ray player tends to be the PlayStation 3's Blu-ray player. I mean, that's the only Blu-ray player I have, is the one off of the PlayStation 3. And I think that is the same for you, Vaughn, as well.
That's correct.
And it's not surprising that actually helped them along the way. Being one of the only 3 that actually had the capability to watch Blu-ray movies. I don't think I'd go out of my way to spend $150 or $200 on a Blu-ray player, but the fact that I have a system that can do it turns it into the way I watch Blu-ray movies as well as play video games. And it's an interesting thing to think about. The features do bring in people, and maybe they're just maybe they're focusing this towards a market that's younger than I am. I mean, I'm still fairly young, but it's maybe this is the tween market or something. I don't know. It's interesting to think about. So if we were to settle, especially from our initial assessment of the state of the market, Jason, would you consider buying any of them? And if you are, which one would you? I
would consider at the moment buying the PlayStation 4.
You don't have. I assume you don't have anything pre-ordered. I would have heard.
No, I don't. I don't have anything pre-ordered. The only reason like I said, that I am considering the PlayStation 4 is because of the. Let's see. Hold on. Sorry, I'm looking through my.
It's hard for Jason to do two things at once. Hence, you guys get to enjoy the awkwardness of us actually playing a video game, and you don't get to know. Well, it's not that we're trying to keep a secret, but you don't actually get to enjoy the fact that we're watching it.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the whole idea that I have to pay to be able to enjoy things on my system that are free on another system.
Well, even just playing online, and I use the same argument when they talk about subscription fees for the 360 every time, is if I have to pay for an internet connection, and then I have to buy the console, and then I have to pay a regular fee for the subscription, at some point, most people aren't going to go, well, that sounds reasonable. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
unless you got your parents paying for it because they're trying to buy your love, I don't think...
Ooh.
yes, Vaughn, our demographic is 14-year-old boys.
Wait, we have a demographic?
We don't have any viewers right now, or listeners, as it is. You see my point, though. I don't see anybody paying for that unless they, I guess, just have extra money. Frugality being a problem, right? Vaughn, I guess the same question. Are any of the consoles seem interesting to you, and would you even consider buying one of the two?
I would consider,
or even 3. I would
consider buying them based upon other people I'd be playing games with. Right now,
right. So you would consider, well, I might get the Xbox One if other people are using it as well.
Yeah, if people I wanted to play games with had it, and that was where the game was. I would love to see more cross-system games where
that's not going to happen.
Well, not in the near future, but maybe before I die.
I'm sure that's got to be... As if that's a hope for you on your deathbed. At least they had cross-system gaming.
We got somebody that wants into the group. Should we let him join?
I don't care. It's not like we're doing anything interesting. You're the one that's gonna have to talk to this person. We are actually doing a podcast. Moving on.
Well,
actually, I'd like to.
I don't know if we want them on the just because they don't necessarily. Or I don't know what
they're doing the same quest.
Doing the same quest, but.
Well, if we're stepping over this guy and he wants to do the same thing, then invite him.
Yeah, I did. He's part of the...
At any rate, Jason, who's probably the hardest person to get to focus, I'm going to have Vaughn. The way this works is we actually each come with a topic, and then we actually proceed to discuss that topic based upon the trifecta hosting system that we have going on. So Vaughn, what do you have for us?
Mine was a thought that there's not much difference between anime and superheroes these days.
In what way?
Well, in Golden Age and all the past times, the superheroes rescued people. That was the main thing they did. And oh, look, there's a bad guy doing it. Now, it seems more often it's just fighting the villains, which seems to be similar to the anime stories where, hey, look, we've got this bad guy to fight, let's go fight him, and the rest of civilization, for lack of a better word, is just uninvolved.
Huh. Well, I guess are you complaining about the whole superhero paradigm?
So I'm wondering, is there any difference between Western superheroes and anime these days?
Well, obviously, this is my response to your question. Obviously, stylistically, you would have a clear difference between Western and, I guess you could call Eastern or Japanese approach to these sort of scenarios. There is a lot. I would agree. There is a lot of focus of the hero or the protagonist perpetuating some sort of plot line where he saves people and the rest of the world doesn't matter because he's sort of wrapped up in his own thing. But that's a common story trope. Is there a difference? Could you give me an example of two that would be fairly similar? Like specific.
We've got...
You being an anime expert. I don't watch it as much as you two, so...
Dragon Ball Z.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got Goku.
Which isn't necessarily super new, but...
Yeah, it's still a good classic. We've got Goku basically fighting big bads. And yet, when I watch, this tells you the last superhero stuff, Justice League and things like that, right. Almost always it's fighting big bads. You don't see them rescuing civilians anymore.
Are you saying suggesting that superheroes are becoming more like anime, or
that superheroes are no longer heroes? They're just overpowered people that are
looking for somebody else to punch at an equal strength.
Well, yeah, they're just doing their own story, and civilians are incidental.
Huh.
And that you only know who's good because of how they feel about the civilians.
Do you want to ask him how many more of these guys he needs to kill?
Yep, I will.
Vaughn, he's your business. Go ahead, Jason.
I see what you're saying. I think that there's something to that. The thing is that it's not exciting to watch the superheroes save civilians.
Yes, but it used to be enough. Why isn't it anymore?
To be honest, I prefer that sort of story. I mean, I prefer the sort of scenario where Superman goes out and saves people. To be honest, they do that a lot now, mainly because Superman is so powerful. It's more interesting to see him save civilians. I can see what you mean. I suppose, and this might just be making a broad answer that everybody would spam about in comments, or even email me. But perhaps we're just getting more violent. It's more interesting to see the actual physical end of an encounter rather than, I don't know, them actually doing something good. I don't know if you ever actively see Batman building shelters for homeless. Of course, he might just use his money.
Thought.
Well, he's got a utility belt. There's something in there.
I remember.
It's like Batman trying to help erect a homeless shelter, and he can't find his level.
I think he's got 2 more. I remember Calvin and Hobbes.
Oh, they just spawned all over us.
Oh, great. Where they were discussing why he didn't do more in the government. Quick, Robin, to the Bat Facts.
I remember that. That one was hilarious. It's kind of the same thing that we're talking about right now. You know, Calvin was asking about that, and Hobbes was basically telling him, you know, it's because it's boring. Nobody wants to sit there and watch Batman go after tax dodgers. They want to see Batman go after
extremely dangerous psychotic.
Exactly. Killer Croc and
well, that's the thing though. The Joker used to even be more less. I guess you could arguably say less interesting, where he was more of this goofy clown figure, and he became so much more homicidal as the years went on. So much more dangerous. As far as anime is concerned, I mean, I could talk about Dragon Ball Z. Let's see if I can't think of anything. Cowboy Bebop. It's to be fair though, Cowboy Bebop's quite a bit more of a nuanced story, more interesting, and it takes it in different ways. It's more of a teen thing than anything. But I don't know how to connect the two.
Stories.
Get out of here.
Stories in anime and not so much in superhero anymore, because they're like the superheroes seem to be on a sitcom thing. Everything can be solved in half an hour or an hour at the end of the season.
Well, they're always in perpetual crisis. It's like every couple days, everybody's panicking and shaking their heads. It becomes ridiculous. It's like every new, and they used to do it with DC and Marvel, where it's like once a year they had their big event, and now it's like they've got an event every couple of weeks. The world's about to end every couple of weeks. What are we going to do? Let's all band together. And this huge storyline. I've been reading some of the recent Batman stuff for the New 52, and they had a recent story arc with the Joker, Death in the Family. And I can recall just a few weeks before, it seemed, they had the story arc with that whole Owl, Night of the Owls thing or whatever, with the secret organization. And it seemed to me like it's reasonably, if anybody were to live in these scenarios, they would go mad after a couple days. It's like there's no way to save this world. We're all going to die because there's a cataclysmic event on clockwork every couple of months. Why would you even try? It's pretty ridiculous. Any more to add on that, Bob?
No.
All right. Pushing Vaughn's segment to the side because it wasn't that interesting.
You're welcome.
It's a fair point to make. It's just I don't know how far I can carry into it because I haven't considered it very much, and I'm not a big anime person. So drawing parallels would be a lot more difficult. But to be fair, I do read comics. It's something to think about.
And therefore, by my argument, there's not much difference. You should be more of an anime fan.
I should, but I'm not.
And that just must be a personal failing.
A physical problem. There are some I watch. It's more of a disturbing curiosity. It's like that car wreck you go by and you slow down hoping you can see ahead, or that leg dangling out the side, or even just a little bit of blood, because you're not sure whether or not the wreck was interesting. That's how anime seems a lot to me, and most of the new stuff is just psychotic. It gets weirder. And I've seen some really weird anime.
Okay.
The kind that make you stay up at night and
I'll admit,
worry about.
There have been several that I'm certain I had a sanity loss attached to.
you regret watching. Go ahead. You were going to say something?
One of the toughest ones actually was Graveyard of the Fireflies. And
I got a hold of a copy of that. I've been meaning to see it. Apparently, it just makes you feel bad about life.
It is horrible. It's very well done. It's beautiful. Oh my, those poor kids.
Well, so this is what we'll do for the next time. I'm going to watch Graveyard of the Fireflies in this next week. And I'll review it, and I'll tell you guys what I think, and whether or not it's worth watching.
Have you seen The Power of One?
Your existence. I haven't.
Okay. I'd be interested in the contrast between the two for you.
All right.
I will be watching.
I'll watch Grave of the Fireflies. Maybe we'll consider the other one after that. What's that, Jason?
I'll be watching Eden of the East, King of Paradise.
I started watching the first couple episodes of Eden of the East, and it's an interesting concept.
I liked it.
Let's discuss what we're actually doing right now at the end. That way we can tell everybody what we're into. We're going to move on to Jason's topic. What do you have?
Well, I was playing Prince of Persia.
Oh, that new one?
No, that new one.
You've had on your desk forever?
Yeah, the one that I've had on my desk forever.
Awesome. This one's got a name. I'm going for it.
Basically, I was playing it, and my wife was in the room, and she doesn't usually stick around when I'm playing video games. She just she tolerates it, but that's about it, kind of thing. But
something she has to accept because you exist.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, not to derail your conversation, but I ran into a guy I used to work with at Walmart. We were somewhat friends. We used to talk all the time, and it was in the middle of the night, and I know he has kids, and we were waiting to pick up Skyrim when it came out, and I sort of walked up to him and said hello, and I goes, "So does your wife know you're here?" And his answer was hilarious because she turns to me and goes, "Me and her have an understanding." And I was like, "Oh, well." I didn't know what else to say. I also ran into somebody else I used to know at Walmart who used to have a beard, and he caught me staring at him as I was trying to figure out where I knew him from. Anyway, Jason, go ahead.
Anyway, so we were watching it, and there's portions where you can talk to Elika, your companion, and you get backstory on her and all that stuff. There was this really funny conversation between the two of them, and my wife actually started to listen because it was that funny. And
I remember that game actually being a lot of fun.
I was just kind of thinking, video games where the game's okay, but the dialogue between the characters just kind of makes it, Because they were having this conversation, and he eventually starts doing the game with her where he thinks of something or he sees something, and then he tells her the letter, and she's supposed to guess what he's thinking of. And it was just a really funny exchange because at one point he says S, and she goes through a couple things. She says sky, and he goes, okay, you got it. And then he says S again, and she's like, sky? And he says, okay, now you're getting it. You said sky again? No, but now you're getting it.
It's like I Spy something with my eye and you're sitting in a desert. Is it desert? Yeah. I see what you're getting at. No, and it's not that, I have an example. It's not that Left 4 Dead was a bad game. Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2 were actually fun.
Right.
But the dialogue in the games, even just the sort of goofy dialogue they would say in between killing things.
The zombies killed
was
God.
Actually, yeah.
That is still my favorite one.
For those who hadn't played the game, at some point, sometimes you'll encounter some spray painting on a wall, and at some point the spray painting had said "God is dead," and one of the characters yells out in panic, "God, the zombies killed God." The fact that the dialogue is so fun to listen to, and not that it's equitable.
Over here, guys.
Okay, I'm coming.
It reminds me of. If any of you played Mass Effect, at least the first one, the elevators were so ridiculous. It's like they're trying to figure out a way to replace
load screens
with an active elevator trip. And they knew it was boring. They knew you were going to spend all this time riding an elevator, especially in space. Can't they make elevators go faster in space?
Yeah, they do. It's Star Trek.
But my point being that they had this whole series of dialogue where the characters would actually interact with each other and say fairly humorous things. And it got to the point where you would go in the elevator with somebody different just to see if they would interact. Well, right, just to see what they would say with each other because you had two different people. Dialogue can make or... I'm not going to say necessarily make or break a game because the game can be ridiculously fun and just have inane dialogue and people will still play it. I mean, people still play Call of Duty, and I don't care how much people complain about how repetitive and how uninnovative Call of Duty is. If the game is fun, and they want to play another fun thing in a different scenario, people are going to still buy it, and it's still going to sell. But they don't actually have to have an interesting story, and sometimes the stories in Call of Duty, you're kind of like, it's almost like a Star Trek episode. Does that really work, or... Are we dealing with scenarios or technology that's kind of not even necessarily feasible? Heavily dialogue. I mean, I could easily say some RPGs. I don't know. Are you essentially implying? I've never played that.
Good Old Games has it.
Well, not that
I've heard of Planescape Torment just because of the.
Isn't that a multiplayer? Or?
Nope. It was a single-player, 2nd edition Dungeons and Dragons, I think.
Huh.
The AD&D.
Is that the one still with the Thaco system?
No, it didn't have... Oh, yes, it did. But it's hidden behind it.
It made no sense. We're not going to talk about the Thaco system now, but I can definitely complain about it later. Okay, keep going.
It's a really interesting story. It's in top 10 games for me.
Huh. Well, I mean, I could easily find RPGs that have had great stories and great dialogue that made it interesting. I wonder if I could think of something that unexpectedly became better. I mean, Left 4 Dead is an example. Oh, we got a bunch of guys show up here.
Yeah.
Potentially, I recently played Metro Last Light. It's fascinating because everybody's Russian, so they all spoke in Russian accents. As if they went and found every person possible that's a voice actor that had a Russian accent or could produce one. But everybody you ran into, even the main character himself, had a Russian accent. And to be honest, the main character's voice acting wasn't very good, and he would do these little dialogue choices in between load screens. And they were sort of... his capability. I can't say that everybody's voice acting wasn't that good, but it took away from the game, definitely. So it is possible to have just crappy dialogue or at least poorly written dialogue that doesn't work as well. Or at least can take away from the game. One thing that can be said, especially about the Mass Effect games, even if you didn't like the game itself or even the system, they pulled off dialogue, or at least the voice acting, really well. Made it interesting. I mean, it was practically movie quality production on how they approached it, and yet all the complaints they got were about the story.
See, that's kind of one of the things where you can.
Well, but at the same time, you can have high quality, but not like it, because what if I mentioned Avatar?
The movie?
Uh-huh. Is it a high-quality produced product?
Definitely. Yeah.
How's your opinion of it?
Not that we've gone into this yet on the podcast, but in my opinion, it's one of the worst movies ever made. Now, to be fair, I'm over-exaggerating to a degree. There have been worse movies than Avatar. If I were to grade it on just the movie itself, it was, I don't know, I give it like a B. I mean, it's reasonably fun. It's fun to watch, but the story is just horrible. And I think a lot of my reaction to how much I disliked Avatar was solely because not only was the story really bad, but it got inane amounts of just love from people when clearly the story was just poorly written. Unobtainium. Come on, people. That's what you call this rare material that you're trying to get to basically kill every analog for Native Americans that you could possibly create. The aliens look stupid. Look, we can go into Avatar later on a separate podcast, perhaps next week. But you're right. It doesn't always equate to being better. And the idea that simply they spent more money on, I mean, Waterworld. Even if you liked Waterworld, it wasn't that successful. And at the time when it was created, it was the most expensive movie ever made.
Well, that's because they actually filmed it on a place. It's turning out better than... It's a decent story. I've enjoyed it.
Well, I think it actually aged okay.
Yeah.
The problem is...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of liked it when I saw it. I didn't think it was too bad. I mean,
Well, that's the thing, though. Regardless of our opinions of it, it did really poorly. And that's the point, though. It doesn't always equate to if you spend a lot of money on something, you're actually going to get a decent product out of it.
Right.
It is something interesting to think about. It's not bad. It's one of those, what I like to call Saturday morning movies. Like, you'll watch it if it's on television, but you won't go rent it or buy it. We're summoning something here.
Yes, I am.
No, that's an interesting point. Dialogue, specifically dialogue in games.
Well, I guess we could modify that and call it things that game developers do to spruce up their games. Because I mean, you could, like I said, it's not a bad game. I'm enjoying it, but at the same time,
it makes it funner because it's there.
Yeah, and a lot of times game developers will do things to hide the fact that certain elements of their game are weak. You know what I mean? And not necessarily that they did that with Prince of Persia, but...
Well, to be fair, the only reason why anybody even knows or has an obsession about HK-47 was because Knights of the Republic was so well written.
Yeah.
And the dialogue and the conversations were so funny and interesting to listen to. I really enjoy the character HK-47. I thought he was great in the game.
Later incarnations.
Apparently there's a chip in my head that makes me start to slightly dislike things because everybody likes it. And the obsession with HK-47 has gotten a little bit weird. But I did enjoy the character. I thought he was fun.
Yeah, I played good characters the entire time, but still had to have him as part of the group just because I enjoyed every statement being prefaced by what type of statement it was, the emotional content in it. I'm disappointed that this HK-51 or whatever he is
doesn't do the same.
No, not nearly as much.
Well, he does. It's just he doesn't have as much. He doesn't have as much dialogue, and he seems to me sort of a gimmicky setup. We're talking about a character, an additional character that everybody can get in the MMO
Star Wars: The Old Republic.
Star Wars: The Old Republic. They added. It seemed to me gimmicky. It's like, well, everybody loved HK-47. Wink, wink. Let's put another one in there, and he doesn't have as much dialogue. It's not that he was rushed, but he felt like they could have given him a lot more and made him a lot more interesting. But to be fair, everybody walks around with a stupid guy.
Yeah, I'm working on the achievements with him.
As you're playing the game. That's an interesting point. We're getting close to the end of the inane babble that is Distracted Gamers Podcast. My hope is to end each one with a stupid argument. And the stupid argument that we're going to end with, and Vaughn and Jason are actually very familiar with this thing. What happens frequently between us is that we have stupid arguments mainly around, for example, like who would win against who in a fight, and that sort of thing. And we're supposed to actually come up with relevant responses to how that goes. And it's not always going to be that. It potentially can change as we go. But what we have today, which perhaps is not a very good scenario or setup for a fight between two people, but I was wondering who would win between Popeye and Harry Potter.
Popeye and Harry Potter?
Obviously completely separate entities, but Harry Potter does have this strange magic thing. Now, before we get into it, I spent a lot of time, for some reason, and this is what I do with my spare time. I waste it thinking about Popeye. But Popeye has those unnatural forearms. And I was wondering about his punching capabilities, because a lot of punching
punching comes from your waist and your extension of your arm more than your forearm.
Right, but as far as the muscles are concerned, we're talking tricep and shoulder or chest.
So there's really effective after he's had the spinach.
Well,
have his greens.
Right, but that's not the point at the moment.
And the whole thing about the greens was his mistake that they made back in like the 30s on the iron content of spinach.
You finished my point before we move on. Basically, what I was thinking was, even as far as fighting is concerned, is the muscle, the bicep is fairly useless when it actually comes to punching anything, which would be a fairly useful skill if he were in an all-out brawl with Harry Potter. I don't know, he'd have really strong wrists. He'd be able to.
His grip strength is probably very impressive.
Yeah, his grip strength. I wouldn't doubt that. Sit on the other side.
I suppose you could equate spinach. Well, what was the spinach thing you were talking about? Is you're basically talking over me?
Well,
Popeye has to have spinach before he has his strength.
No, I know that. Everybody knows that. But what were you referencing?
He's only effective at those times. If he doesn't, he gets beat up.
No, you were saying something about it being a mistake. Apparently, we can't focus.
He was saying that the idea, the iron content in it, was
the
more
study
important.
that came up with the reason that Popeye has his strength because of spinach was because of a study done back in like the 30s that overstated the iron content of spinach.
Well, the whole reason why we equate things like eggs and bacon to breakfast was because basically the egg people and the bacon people got together and were trying to. It was mainly the egg guys, and there was this one guy that was really good.
Are they eggheads and ham-handed?
Yes.
Puns, everybody. That's why Vaughn is here.
I'm here to bring the entertainment level up. We've got
right.
just
We totally hold to our name. Anyway, there is a very good PR guy at the time, and you can look him up. Apparently, I can't come up with him off the top of my head, but he made up the idea that he wanted to figure out a way to sell eggs more. And so he went out and he figured out that he could get a hold of a bunch of doctors and have that whole 9 out of 10 doctors sort of thing. And he didn't even really have to get a consensus on doctors. He just had to have a few doctors that probably weren't even very good sign something or say something that eating a healthy breakfast and eating eggs in the morning were good for you. What eventually happened was they would put this in the newspaper that doctors say that eating a healthy breakfast was good. And that's where we get the concept of eggs and bacon and what have you being the staple of breakfast. And to be fair, prior to this, and I know you might not buy it, but look it up. The whole concept of that being traditional breakfast is not that old. We're talking like 60, 70 years maybe. But it's traditionally they used to eat like steak for breakfast, especially a lot of farmers and stuff. And they basically changed that based upon the idea that we can come out with some sort of study saying that this is healthy for you. Basically referencing Jason's this iron content point. Staying to the task at hand, I want to say, to be honest, my knee reaction is going to say Popeye. I hate Harry Potter, but if I'm going to try and take this as a reasonable all-out bout, not who I'm rooting for, to be honest, I might have to still say Popeye. That whole spinach thing is kind of magical in and of itself.
True.
I know
I kind of have a different opinion on that, just because it kind of feels to me like Superman and magic, and I think I might go with Harry Potter on that one.
Well, like you would say theoretically that Harry Potter could beat Superman.
Well, I'm equating Popeye to Superman and Harry Potter to one of Superman's mystical opponents.
I don't know, Vaughn. It's an interesting argument to make, but I don't know if I'd equate it in that way.
I mean, Popeye is a cartoon, and so there is that.
We're obviously dealing with the fictional characters.
Popeye's a brawler, but at the same time, I don't remember him willing to kill people.
Well, it's not like Harry Potter was willing to kill people.
I think there were some he did during the final battles that he just out and out killed.
I never read the books. The very unexciting wizard duels that they would have, two people standing there in a wind tunnel. That being said, well, how about we argue this? Popeye is a sailor who obviously came out of an American era that we might equate to something like World War II. Is he prior to World War II?
No idea. Yes, he's prior to World War II, but I'm not certain he's prior to World War I.
Hey, everybody, we are uninformed. That being said, he's sort of a masculine image of the American military tough man.
Yeah, but he gets beat
and he would have been a sailor.
Episode.
Well, right, but he would have been a sailor who would have fought in a war, and I'm in a roundabout, poor way arguing that he potentially could be, could kill somebody.
That wasn't shown in the episodes. He gets the crap beat out of him till he's at
I'm
the
not
bottom.
saying that the person has to die. What I'm saying is who would win in an all-out brawl. He could win and not kill Harry Potter. That's not the problem. He doesn't lose after he stands over his broken corpse.
Well,
and decides to walk away. That's an interesting image to come in your heads.
My thought is more along the lines
Hey,
of
it wasn't
why
in my
would
head.
the fight start. Harry Potter usually fights when he does. He fights to end it, and Popeye blunders his way through at the beginning until after he's got his magical greens.
Right, but eventually he would get it. He always does.
That's true. So he would lose first. Harry Potter would gloat,
and do some
then
uppercut.
He would come up and tie Harry Potter up.
Probably break his wand
So
or something.
actually,
and his massive, beefy hands.
So I'd have to say that both would win, just at different times.
No.
Harry Potter would win the first round, and while he's gloating, then Popeye would...
Harry Potter doesn't gloat.
Well... Okay,
and this isn't like... This isn't boxing. This isn't boxing. Eventually somebody goes down bloody in a heap. Potentially, a very young boy and a fictionalized cartoon character with a pipe.
But since he is a fictional cartoon character with a pipe, he can take a massive amount of damage before really going down. Much more so than Harry Potter could take.
I suppose if we're playing the long game, hopefully Popeye is somehow able to give Harry Potter lung cancer.
He doesn't actually smoke, you know that? He just holds it in his teeth.
Right, that almost like a British gentleman. Ending this discussion, and I don't even know if I would listen to it. If you listen to this podcast, thank you for listening. Please comment and or email us and tell us how you liked it. That again was me, your confused and inane host, Rhett. We also have Vaughn here. Say hello, Vaughn.
Hello, Vaughn.
Well, you can tell that one's coming.
And we have Jason.
Most of mine you can.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you later.